is Wendy Mickelson, and Wendy is the program manager for workplace violence prevention. So let's welcome her and listen to her story.
Suddenly it seems like a really good idea to have two friends up here. I was always the fat girl in school. I took a daily dose of insults for my shabby clothes and how my body didn't really fit in them. Name calling, exclusion from groups, and perhaps the most demeaning were the dismissive glances, as I clearly wasn't even worth eye contact. It was not called bullying back then. It wasn't even called out as bad behavior, but just what kids do. Try to fit in, lose some weight, turn the other cheek, the adults would tell me. I entered nursing school later in life, after I had a family and a string of jobs I didn't really enjoy. Being an ER nurse was my passion, and that was the only kind of nurse I wanted to be. Nursing school came naturally to me, and I excelled. My first hospital clinical was in med-surg. My conservative university had not embraced scrubs yet, so I arrived for my first day in a white polo shirt and white pants. Tony was my preceptor for the day, and he clearly wasn't excited to see me, as he spent the next 8 hours trying to pawn me off on anyone else. No eye contact, no communication. I was used to it, not surprised, seemed normal. I ate lunch by myself in a small break room, my peace interrupted by Tony. He opened the door without a greeting and stated, "You know nurses eat their young, don't you?" I looked up confused, prepared to get eaten, and he walked out without another word. Immediately after graduation, I accepted a residency in a busy urban ER. I had my dream job at last, and it turns out I was really good at it. I was quickly fluent in all aspects of ED nursing, trauma, triage, leading all parts of critically ill care for patients. By the end of my first year, I was precepting new grads, and this is where I shined. I turned out the most competent and confident nurses in our department by being hard on them with high expectations. It turns out I was also a raging bully, and most nurses were afraid of me. I surrounded myself with other bullies and those that just wanted to be safe from my hurtful comments and retaliation if crossed. I moved to night shift where I had less competition and leader oversight. As my power increased, so did my bad behavior. My posse and I took delight in shaming to make you question every decision, withholding information to make you look like you were inept, pointing out every mistake to everyone to make you feel small, exploiting the weak. To all the people that hurt me, it was my turn now, and I finally was in control. The ED culture was survival of the fittest, and if you couldn't hack it, it was up to the strong to weed you out in the name of patient safety. I set my sights on Sarah. She was young, pretty, and really smart. Instead of managing her up and embracing what she had to offer, I was jealous of what she might do to my power. She was every girl in school that had insulted me, picked on me, didn't look at me. I was in the nurse's station one day, sitting by the charge nurse. And Sarah put down a chart on the desk. This was before we had electronic health records and we had paper charts. She needed to get her restraint checklist reviewed by the charge nurse, which was common practice. I took the chart, gave it the once-over, and tossed it aside, stating, "This is all wrong. You should be able to get this right by now." Her face turned red. She picked it up and walked away. I laughed. The next day, Sarah approached me and asked if we could talk privately. I smirked. I was excited at the prospect of making her cry again. We walked into an empty patient room. I sat down. She stayed standing. Her voice began to quiver. And she listed all the things I had done to her. And with each indiscretion, she stated how it made her feel. She did not raise her voice and eventually moved past quivering to a steady, sincere monologue. I sat quietly and listened and realized in that moment exactly what my behavior had caused. I saw my own feelings left unspoken for unspeakable acts I had endured my whole life. Sarah finished by saying, "I'm not here to get you in trouble. I just wanted you to know how you affected my life." The tears that day came from me, not Sarah. A wave of memories that were quieted by the hurt I inflicted on others came back in an instant. All the bus rides home, sitting alone in a seat meant for friends, all the times I used the house key around my neck to open the door to an empty apartment, where I would relive another day full of pain by myself. I wasn't that person anymore. And I wasn't going to be responsible for anyone else feeling like that anymore. A few days later, I approached Sarah and asked to talk to her in a private with the complete understanding she might say no. But she agreed, and we went back to that empty patient room. I was already tearful, and with my own quivering voice, I told her what her words had done to me that day. We talked about how my behavior had gotten to that level and how we would treat each other going forward. After the meeting, I began to reflect on how I was allowed to continue in this way towards staff. I was a great employee. I was punctual. I never called in sick. I picked up extra shifts. I had exemplary nursing skills. So what if I was a little harsh or aggressive sometimes? Leaders overlooked how toxic I was to staff, or that I had begun to build an entire shift of bullies. The unit culture not only accepted, but encouraged my behavior, in part to weed out the weak and keep a hierarchy. Sarah's courage to do what so many never did saved my job, my career, and potentially my life that day. I think about all the lives I affected, how many people quit, transferred, left nursing altogether. Because of me, I cannot right all those wrongs. What I can do is relay my experience as a victim and a perpetrator of violence to anyone who will listen, and make staff and leaders understand what worker-on-worker violence is and how it affects every interaction negatively. I thought that would be the end of my story, changing my behavior and passing on my painful lesson. But I was wrong. It is no coincidence that I am part of the Workplace Violence Prevention Program. My past experience prepared me for this work. Instead of approaching the day thinking about how I will strike before getting struck, I look forward to making a difference by bringing my best self. I feel like that is enough to drive change and give voice to what some would like to keep quiet or not even acknowledge. I hope this passion becomes infectious to end violence at the hand of another. Another worker whose behavior is ignored because it's just what people do.